Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. The smarter you get, the less you speak. The more you see, the less you react. Let's be honest, not everyone's built to understand you. Some people misread your silence as arrogance, your independence as coldness, and your depth as a threat. But here's the truth. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're not wired like the rest, and that's not a flaw. It's a gift. If you've ever been told you overthink, analyze too much, or don't play the game right, it's probably because you see too much. Your mind isn't distracted by noise. It's focused, sharp, and always working beneath the surface. And that kind of intelligence, it unsettles people. You don't follow the crowd, you watch it. You don't talk to impress. You talk when there's something real to say. You don't need the spotlight because you're too busy mastering the shadows. You're a Sigma male, the rare kind who thinks 10 steps ahead, who sees through fake smiles and fake systems. And yes, people might feel uncomfortable around you. That's because your presence quietly demands honesty, and not everyone's ready for that. In this breakdown, we're diving into 11 brutally honest signs that your intelligence doesn't just set you apart, it intimidates people. And if you see yourself in these signs, take it as confirmation. You're not just different, you're built to lead without following, to rise without seeking permission. Let's get into it, brothers. Number 1, he doesn't debate for sport. He dismantles illusions. The Sigma male doesn't argue just to sound clever or prove he's right. He's not that guy in the room picking fights just to show off his vocabulary or flex his knowledge. He's not chasing trophies from winning debates, he's chasing clarity. And that's what makes him dangerous in conversations. See, when most people get into an argument, they bring their ego with them. They talk over each other, throw around opinions, and try to score points. But the Sigma, he stays calm. He listens, thinks, and when he responds, it's not to compete, it's to reveal. And that's where it gets uncomfortable. Because he doesn't just attack your argument, he makes you look at the foundation of it. He'll quietly pick apart the reasoning, question your assumptions, and expose the weak spots you didn't even realize were there. He cuts straight through the emotional fluff, the excuses, the rehearsed answers. And what's left is the truth. Raw, unfiltered, and sometimes hard to swallow. That's why people often feel shaken after trying to debate a Sigma male. Not because he yelled or humiliated them, but because he calmly turned their whole argument inside out and made them realize they were holding on to something shallow or flawed. He doesn't humiliate, he illuminates. And that's even more unsettling. He's the type who doesn't mind being wrong, because he wants to get to the truth. But if you're the one holding on to illusions, half-truths, or emotional comfort zones, then prepare to be uncomfortable, because he'll challenge you, not to belittle you, but to wake you up. So no, he's not debating to win. He's trying to make sense of things. He wants to see if what you believe actually holds up, and if it doesn't, he won't gloat. He'll just leave you with a silent look that says, "Now think for yourself." And that's why people fear crossing intellectual paths with a Sigma. He doesn't crush your argument. He shows you it was already broken. Number 2, he remembers everything, but chooses when to use it. The Sigma male isn't the type to constantly bring up facts to show off how smart he is. He's not throwing out stats in every conversation or correcting people just to feel superior. But don't mistake his silence for forgetfulness. He remembers everything, every detail, every word, every contradiction. He just doesn't always show it. He listens quietly, stores information like a vault, and waits. Not out of malice, but out of strategy. He doesn't need to prove anything in the moment. But when the truth matters, when someone tries to lie, manipulate, or twist the story, that's when he opens that vault. And when he does, it's brutal. Not loud, not dramatic, just cold, surgical precision that makes the room go silent. He'll calmly remind you of what you said 3 weeks ago, word for word. He'll point out the gap in your logic without raising his voice. And the worst part for the other person, he's right every time. Because he doesn't just hear you, he studies you. This is what makes people uncomfortable around him. They know they can't just bluff their way through. They can't gaslight or manipulate their way out of a conversation with him. One slip up, one contradiction, and he'll catch it. Then hold it up like a mirror, showing you exactly what you said and when you said it. And because he doesn't use this power recklessly, it's even more intimidating. People never know when he'll speak up, so they start walking on eggshells. They watch their words, rethink their stories, and sometimes avoid conversations altogether, because deep down, they know they can't fake it around him. The Sigma male doesn't need to flex his memory. He lets people talk, lets them hang themselves with their own words. And when the moment is right, he simply connects the dots. No drama, just undeniable truth. That quiet recall. It's not just memory, it's power. And for those trying to deceive or play games, it's absolutely terrifying. Number 3, he doesn't fake humility, but he also doesn't flaunt brilliance. The Sigma male doesn't walk around pretending to be humble just to win people over. He's not interested in putting on an act to appear modest, and he definitely isn't looking for applause. If anything, he finds that kind of behavior exhausting. He knows what he's capable of, and he doesn't need the room to clap for him to feel it. But here's where it gets interesting. He's quietly brilliant. He's not chasing recognition, not fishing for compliments, and not dropping hints about how smart he is. He lets his actions, results, and insights speak for themselves. And they do, loudly, without him having to say a word. This kind of presence makes loud people nervous, because they're used to being the center of attention, dominating conversations, and feeding off validation. But when a Sigma male walks in with that quiet, focused confidence, they start to feel like they're overcompensating because they are. He doesn't play the game they're playing, and that alone makes their act look fake. He's not out to impress anyone. He's out to build, learn, understand, and solve. And when people finally realize how sharp he actually is, after he said very little, it leaves a lasting impact. That's when they start saying things like, he's mysterious, or there's something different about him. That something is simple. He doesn't need to prove anything. And here's the part that stings for some. His calm, grounded nature makes others question their own noise. His stillness highlights their performance. His confidence, built on substance and self-awareness, is the kind that can't be copied. The Sigma male doesn't dumb himself down to fit in, and he doesn't shout his brilliance to stand out. He just is. And that natural self-assurance, rooted in purpose, not ego, is what makes people pause, reassess, and in some cases feel deeply threatened. Because when you're around someone who knows, but doesn't need to show it, you start wondering why you ever needed to prove anything in the first place. Number 4, he plays dumb when necessary, to disarm threats. The Sigma male is anything but clueless, but he's smart enough to pretend to be when the situation calls for it. Why? Because he understands something most people don't. Showing your full strength too early can make people defensive, jealous, or hostile. Not everyone can handle intelligence that cuts through the noise. So instead of flexing his mind, he reads the room and adjusts. This isn't about deception, it's about strategy. The Sigma male knows when to let others think they're in control. He knows when to keep his insights tucked away, letting people underestimate him. And honestly, he doesn't mind being underestimated. In fact, he uses it. While others talk themselves in circles, thinking they're the smartest one in the room, the Sigma is quietly analyzing everything, storing information, observing dynamics, and preparing his next move. People tend to let their guard down around someone they think is harmless. They reveal more, get sloppy, expose their agendas. And that's when the Sigma strikes, not with drama, not with ego, but with quiet precision. One well-timed comment, one sharp observation, and the entire room shifts. People suddenly realize they were being watched, measured, and completely misunderstood his silence. This ability to play dumb isn't weakness. It's power in disguise. It's knowing that real strength doesn't need to shout. And it's knowing that some battles are won before they even begin, just by keeping people off balance and unsure of what you really know. What makes this even more intimidating is that no one ever sees it coming. He blends in, keeps things light, and lets others run the show until it matters. Then he steps forward, and the shift is undeniable. The person they thought wasn't paying attention turns out he was 10 steps ahead the whole time. And that's the Sigma male's quiet genius. He doesn't just outthink you, he makes you think he couldn't, until it's far too late. Number 5, 7. He redefines what it means to be intelligent. When most people think of intelligence, they picture someone rattling off facts, solving equations, or using big words to sound smart. But the Sigma male flips that idea on its head. His intelligence isn't loud, and it isn't limited to academics or IQ tests. It's deeper, sharper, and far more difficult to understand. His mind works like a scalpel, precise, calculated, and deliberate. He doesn't just gather information, he dissects it. While others drown in surface-level noise, he cuts through the nonsense and locks in on what truly matters. He sees patterns where others see confusion. He finds meaning in silence. He hears what's not being said. But it's not just brain power, it's the way he carries it. The Sigma male doesn't just know things, he embodies clarity, emotional self-mastery, and strategic thinking. He doesn't get pulled into petty arguments or emotional chaos. He observes, he analyzes, he chooses when to act and when to walk away. That kind of control, it rattles people who are used to emotional outbursts and constant validation seeking. He also doesn't need a crowd to feel confident. He doesn't want to be the smartest guy in the room just to feed his ego. His intelligence serves a purpose, his own vision. Whether he's building, creating, or simply understanding the world at a level others can't, his focus is internal, not performative. This quiet dominance, this ability to lead without demanding attention, to understand without showing off, to stay centered while others spiral, is rare. And let's be honest, it's intimidating. People don't know what to do with someone they can't read, can't manipulate, and can't predict. The Sigma male forces the world to rethink what smart really looks like. It's not about noise, it's not about titles. It's not about trying to look intelligent, it's about being so in control of your mind, your emotions, and your energy that even your silence feels like power. And when intelligence looks like that, it stops being impressive and starts being a little bit terrifying. Number 6. He absorbs knowledge like a vacuum, but filters nonsense like a firewall. The Sigma male is the kind of person who can sit in a room, hear 20 different ideas, and walk away with the only one that actually matters. He's always learning, always observing, always picking up new information. But here's the catch. He doesn't accept everything as truth. His mind works like a high-powered filter. He takes in everything, but only keeps what's useful, real, and authentic. This is what sets him apart. A lot of people confuse noise with knowledge. They repeat buzzwords, follow trends, and act like they're wise just because they've memorized popular opinions. The Sigma sees right through that. He doesn't get impressed by flashy talk, fake wisdom, or regurgitated nonsense. In fact, it turns him off. He's the guy who will sit quietly while someone gives a long-winded explanation, then calmly say one sentence that cuts right to the truth, leaving everyone stunned. Why? Because while they were trying to sound smart, he was actually processing, not just hearing what they said, but breaking it down, checking it for logic, and testing it against reality. Imagine a sponge with a steel filter. That's the Sigma's brain. He absorbs ideas, experiences, philosophies, and lessons from every direction, but he keeps his mental gate shut tight against garbage. TikTok gurus, shallow trends, clickbait wisdom. He's not buying it. If it doesn't hold up under pressure, he throws it out. That alone makes people nervous, especially those who build their image around sounding deep or trendy. They can't manipulate him with buzzwords or emotional fluff because he values substance over style. His standards are too high, and that makes people who thrive on shallow validation feel exposed. What makes the Sigma so powerful is that he's always learning, but never blindly. He's not a know-it-all, he's a know-what-matters. And in a world full of empty noise, that kind of discernment is rare, and honestly, a little terrifying. Number 7. He operates on multiple levels, simultaneously. The Sigma male's mind doesn't run in a straight line. It works like a complex, multi-layered system that's always active beneath the surface. While most people are just trying to stay present in the moment, the Sigma is reading the room, analyzing body language, mapping out future scenarios, and processing potential outcomes, all at the same time. It's not about being busy-minded. It's about having a high-performance mind that can handle depth, detail, and direction without short-circuiting. While others are focused on what's being said, he's paying attention to what's not being said. He's scanning tone, watching micro-expressions, tracking energy shifts, and already calculating where the conversation could lead. Picture a chess player who doesn't just see the next move, but the next 10. That's the sigma in nearly every interaction. Whether he's in a business meeting, a casual hangout, or a tense situation, he's quietly navigating multiple channels of information. He doesn't just hear your words, he decodes your motives, senses your insecurities, and mentally tests your logic before you even finish your sentence. This kind of layered thinking is rare. Most people operate on one channel at a time. They talk, they listen, or they react. The sigma does all three and then some without breaking a sweat. And that freaks people out. Because while they're trying to keep up with the conversation, he's already dissected the entire landscape and predicted how it's going to end. That's why some folks feel slow or exposed around him, not because he's showing off, but because they sense he's seeing more than they are. He's not reacting emotionally, he's processing strategically, and that calm, controlled energy makes emotional or insecure people feel small. The sigma doesn't need to dominate a room to command it. His presence alone, layered, calculating, unreadable, creates a quiet pressure. People sense that his mind is moving fast, far, and deep. And the scariest part, you'll never really know just how much he's already figured out. Number 8. He treats power like a tool, not a trophy. The sigma male doesn't chase power to feel important. He doesn't need a title, applause, or control over others to validate his worth. While many people crave power to hide insecurity or to boost their image, the sigma sees it for what it actually is. A tool. Something to use, not to show off. If he's in charge, it's not because he begged for the role. It's because people quietly started following him. If he has influence, it's not because he forced it, it's because he earned it. He doesn't walk into rooms demanding respect. He just carries himself in a way that makes people give it without being asked. And when he uses power, it's never reckless. It's calculated, controlled, surgical. He doesn't throw his weight around or make decisions to feed his ego. He studies situations, identifies what needs to be done, and makes the tough call without flinching. No theatrics, no power trips, just results. That's exactly why he scares people who use power as a mask. They perform strength to cover up fear. They dominate to hide the fact that they're insecure. But the sigma? He has no need for that mask. His power is quiet, strategic, and rooted in clarity. That difference is exposing because it shows the gap between real control and fake dominance. Think of it like a scalpel versus a sledgehammer. Most people swing wildly, hoping to look strong. The sigma makes one clean cut, and the problem's gone. That kind of precise authority makes a loud statement without making a scene. In a world obsessed with status and appearances, the sigma's low-key control rewrites the rules. He doesn't scream power, he embodies it. And nothing makes insecure people more nervous than a man who holds power and simply chooses when to use it. Number 9. He makes intellectual solitude look powerful. Most people run from solitude. They need constant noise, constant validation, someone always around to reassure them they matter. But the sigma male? He walks into silence and owns it like it's a throne. While others feel lost when they're alone, he finds clarity. He's not just comfortable with his own thoughts, he craves them. He's the type to disappear for a weekend, not to escape, but to recharge. While the world scrolls, posts, likes, and comments, he's reading, writing, building, or simply thinking, not overthinking, but deep thinking. That kind of quiet discipline, it's intimidating to people who define their worth by how many people they can impress. And that's what unsettles most people about him. His self-sufficiency isn't just emotional, it's intellectual. He doesn't need a crowd to bounce ideas off or a group to validate his thinking. He challenges himself, he questions everything. He digs through problems on his own, and often comes back with insights no one else saw coming. Imagine someone who can go days without posting a thing, who can sit in silence and not feel awkward. Who doesn't need an audience to feel alive? That kind of solitude makes others nervous, because deep down it highlights their own dependence on noise, attention, and approval. It's not that he hates people, he just doesn't rely on them for his sense of identity. And in a world addicted to being seen, his ability to disappear and come back sharper is almost mythical. He doesn't fear solitude because he knows that's where his edge is forged. That's where ideas are born. That's where distractions fall away and the real work begins. To the average mind, solitude feels like punishment. To the Sigma, it's home. And that shift in energy, the ability to thrive alone, shakes people. It makes them realize how much they depend on others to feel whole. And in that quiet realization, the Sigma male stands out, not as a loner, but as a silent force to be reckoned with. Number 10. He notices contradictions instantly and exposes them effortlessly. The Sigma male has a mind like a steel trap. He doesn't just hear you, he remembers you. Not in a petty, grudge-holding way, but in a razor-sharp, data-collecting way. You might forget what you said last week, but he won't. Say one thing today that doesn't match what you claimed 2 years ago, he'll catch it, and you'll feel it. He doesn't even have to try, it's just how his brain is wired. Patterns, inconsistencies, hidden motives, he picks up on them automatically, like background noise he's always tuning into. You say one thing in public, something different in private. He clocks both and tucks them away, and when the moment comes, he exposes the contradiction with surgical precision. Calm, quiet, no drama, just facts. And that's what terrifies hypocrites. Because most people are used to getting away with saying whatever fits the moment. They twist stories, change beliefs, reinvent themselves to please the crowd. But the Sigma isn't swayed by appearances. He holds people to their own words, and he'll remind them, sometimes with just a look, that he's been paying attention longer than they realized. This ability makes liars anxious and manipulators squirm, because they know, consciously or not, that the Sigma is watching, not to attack, not to embarrass, but to expose truth. And nothing threatens a dishonest person more than someone who can connect the dots faster than they can cover their tracks. He doesn't have to yell, he doesn't need to call you out in front of everyone. Sometimes all it takes is one quiet question, one sentence that cuts straight through the act. Didn't you say the opposite last time? And just like that, the mask slips. In a world where people rewrite their truths to fit the crowd, the Sigma male's memory becomes a mirror. And when that mirror reflects their contradictions back at them, most people can't handle what they see. Number 11. He weaponizes logic when necessary. The Sigma male doesn't argue for attention. He's not out to prove he's smarter than you, and he has zero interest in debates that go in circles. But when he has to speak, when someone pushes too far, crosses a line, or tries to challenge him, he doesn't explode. He executes. His logic is his weapon, and it's deadly precise. He doesn't yell, interrupt, or throw insults. He calmly breaks your argument apart, step by step, until there's nothing left but silence. No emotion, no fluff, just cold, hard facts that make it impossible to fight back without looking foolish. Imagine trying to argue with someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't get rattled, and doesn't need to raise their voice, because their logic already traps you like a checkmate. That's what it feels like when a Sigma decides to engage. He's been observing, collecting your inconsistencies, spotting your emotional traps. And when it's time, he strikes with so much clarity that most people can't even finish their sentences. This isn't about ego. He doesn't feel bigger by making others feel small. But he will call out nonsense if it gets in his way, and he does it with such clean-cut precision that it stuns people. There's no room left for emotional comebacks or manipulative guilt trips, just truth. And here's what's really intimidating. He doesn't need the win. Once he's made his point, he disengages. He's not trying to dominate the room. He simply says what needed to be said, ends the nonsense, and walks away. That kind of calm, surgical intellect leaves a deep mark, especially on those who are used to winning arguments with noise and drama. The Sigma's silence is powerful, but when he chooses to speak with logic as his blade, there's no confusion about who's actually in control. Conclusion. Here's the truth. Being a Sigma male isn't easy, but that's exactly what makes it powerful. You're not wired to impress crowds or chase empty applause. You're not here to blend in or play games that waste time and insult your intelligence. Your mind is sharp, your instincts are precise, and your silence, it speaks louder than most people's shouting ever could. What intimidates others isn't just what you know, it's how you use it. You don't flaunt your intelligence. You apply it. You observe. You analyze. You see through facades that others can't even detect. And when necessary, you strike with precision, not noise. That rattles people who rely on charm or chaos to stay in control. While the world teaches men to dominate by being loud, pushy, or overly visible, you've chosen a different lane. The quiet one, the thoughtful one, the one with depth. And because it's rare, people don't always know what to do with you, but understand this. Their discomfort says more about them than it does about you. So if you've ever been called too intense, too quiet, or too smart for your own good, take that as a badge of honor. You're not broken, you're refined. You're the one who walks into the room and doesn't need to announce anything, because your presence says it all. You make intelligence look calm, and calm look powerful. In a world flooded with noise, you are the signal. That's why they stare. That's why they're cautious. And that's why they remember you, even if they never say it out loud. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and most of all, don't dim your brilliance to make others comfortable. The right ones won't be intimidated, they'll be inspired. Thank you for watching. God bless you.